welcome to another review by P Shog, and today I'm doing a review, and it was my very first request, so I had to do it, and someone else also kind of recommended this series, which I've already read. But it's the Night Huntress series by, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Jeaniene Frost. Like, it doesn't look like a Jean, but I'm going to say Jeaniene Frost. And okay, so this is kind of a mixed review, really. I put off writing this review in my book review book for a while, just because it had been so long since I read it. The thing is, though, I did not want to reread this series, and that must say something, really. I was just like, oh god, I don't think I want to read these books again. And over about 24 hours, I kind of read the first 4 in bits and pieces. I kind of skimmed them. Maybe skimmed isn't the right word, scanned. I kind of read important scenes, skipped things I didn't really need to. So I'm kind of refreshed a bit on this series. And there's 5 books out so far. And I last read these books in about September 2009. So I couldn't remember every little thing, but I remember the main parts. And I was surprised actually the author brought out a 5th book, because I thought it was done after the 4 books. And then I discovered over a year later that she was doing a 5th one, and that was out not long ago. And I decided to read it to see what was happening with the characters. And there's another one, a 6th one, coming out in August. And the author just released that she's actually making 9 books in this series. The Night Huntress series is about Kat, and she is a half vampire, half human, because her mum was raped by a vampire and she gave birth to Kat. And she's kind of, since she was 16 years old, she's kind of set out to kill vampires, kind of in revenge for what happened to her mother. And one night she runs into this vampire called Bones, and she's defeated by him, and he decides to kind of train her to be like a proper vampire slayer. And he's going to help her because he's kind of like a vampire assassin himself, even though he is a vampire. And as you can probably guess, you know, their relationship is the main thing in the series, and we'll see how that develops. And they kind of continue over that like that for the 4 books. Obviously something different comes into the 2nd book, a different element to the whole story itself, but I won't spoil that. So what did I think of this series? God, there were good elements, but kind of the bad elements are more memorable. Kat and Bones as a couple, they have some likability to them. Like, they can be sweet and they can be romantic and they can be kind of funny, but mostly they're just kind of annoying, and that may be due to the character Kat. She's just a very irritating protagonist, which is awful because you're reading all the books from her point of view, and she talks way too much. It's not like an endearing trait in this series. She just comes out with too much, and you can tell it's the author's way of getting a lot of exposition and backstory, and it's not, I don't feel like it's something the character would say. It's just the author's way of getting in the plot, and it just sounds ridiculous. And Kat comes out with these stupid insults like ass munch and suck neck that just made me roll my eyes, really. She's not the most likeable character, and she didn't really do anything that endeared me to her, to be honest. Bones, the male character, he's so unoriginal. I mean, he's a platinum blonde, smoking, leather coat wearing, British accented vampire. I mean, Buffy, anyone? But anyway, Spike, Bones, but yeah, I think people have acknowledged the fact that it's so similar to the character Spike from Buffy, so I'm not really going to talk about that much. But Bones, I just feel like, I don't know what to say without spoiling it, but some of the things he does isn't very believable of a centuries-old vampire. And I've said this before, I hate implausibility, where things characters say or do aren't believable. Oh yeah, and it's also kind of a laughable portrayal of a British man. I mean, every sentence he says is either with love or sodding or bloody or yeah, all these kind of stereotypical British speech things. So yeah, there are elements of these characters that aren't great, but obviously, I mean, there's people out there who love this series and love Cat and Bones, so the author must be doing something right, I suppose. I felt the first book was good enough, and I was getting into the story, but I really feel it could have been left as a standalone book. With a bit of tweaking at the end, it could have been left, and that's my honest opinion. And then the books continue on, 2, 3, and 4 kind of jumbled together for me, but they just got more depressing as they went on. I have to say, these books aren't the most enjoyable books to read. I mean, I did not want to reread them, which says a lot. I judge my favourite series on ones where, when I'm finished, I say, oh, I can't wait to read that series again. And all my top series, I've read at least twice. But with this series, I didn't really want to reread them that much. The 5th book, which I read not long ago, it was a bit more lighthearted, which I appreciated. But nothing really happened in it. Like, the story, nothing major. I mean, I thought it could have been a novella. I do appreciate the author's attempts to make the story interesting. Like, he does add these kind of interesting elements, and there are good points to the story too. I mean, the whole half vampire, half human cat thing, avenging her mother's rape, like, that's quite interesting, I have to admit. But the writing and the portrayal of all these things isn't the best. There are a good bunch of characters, actually, I have to say. Like, Cat gets a job, these other characters, and I actually like them. But I think the worst thing really is the addition of this couple with cheesy lines and sex. I think Cat and Bones, some people might think they're the best thing in the series, but I think they are the thing that cheapened the series. Maybe it's just because they're the characters who have all the sex, but I feel like the author just sticks in these really like racy sex scenes and these cheesy, corny one-liners, and it just cheapens the whole series and makes it quite campy. So yeah, I think the character needs to, or the author needs to improve her writing of particularly just Cat and Bones as a couple. And I mean, as I said, there are good elements, definitely, like, to the story. There has to be. I mean, she's going to make 9 books. There must be something in there. But there were just a lot of negatives that overshadow the positives. Probably that's the best way to put it. So yeah, that's my review. It's very mixed. Do I recommend them? I think if you are into vampire novels and if you liked maybe Buffy, although a lot of people I like Buffy. If you're into vampire novels, you're into Buffy, and you don't mind that campiness, I would recommend these books. At least read the first one just to see what you think. But I mean, if all those negatives are things you hate in books, I suggest you don't read these. Like, I'm very mixed. I don't think the series is great, but it's okay. So that's my review, really. I'm sorry if I disappointed people who love this series, but that's what I think. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a review that's more spoiler-filled, so that will contain a bit more details and spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything, switch off now. Okay, so as I said, one thing I said before actually was Bones, kind of his implausibility of his character. I felt Bones and Cat's relationship moved a bit too quickly. Like, him saying "I love you" was just so out of character, I think. Like, he said "I love you" really quickly, like he was in love with her, and I find it hard to believe of a 200-odd-year-old vampire. I would have believed it more if it was Cat who said it. So him saying "I love you" so quickly just wasn't believable from his character. And other characters I said I liked. I did like the whole author's attempt at the the paranormal, this kind of FBI group of characters. That part of the story I actually liked, and that Cat had to give up being with Bones and she went and joined them. I was actually surprised it was like 4 years later in the second book. I liked that little bunch of friends she had there, like Tage. There was other characters too, and I liked Don. I really liked his kind of fatherly thing with Cat. I really wish the author would have played up on that more. Oh, side note, his death was the longest death ever. Yes, it was sad, but it just went on and just maybe took away all my sympathy for it. Yeah, so they were good, and that element of the story was good, but the whole thing with Gregor on the vampire side of the stories, oh, I just hated it. It was just so cheesy and old-fashioned, and maybe some people like that. I just didn't like that part of the story, and then Bones getting mad at Kat because she chose Gregor to save them all, and it just dragged on really. I wanted more of Tate, to be honest. I was really interested to see Tate and Kat's relationship. Maybe like to see kind of like an affair thing going on, but no, she's obsessed with Bones, so I suppose the author didn't really want to go that way. I would have been interested to see that, but I guess she won't. But yeah, that's my review. Very, very mixed, really. More negative than positive, I have to say. But I mean, if you like it out there, tell me why and let me know your opinion. And that's my review. So if you have any other recommendations of series or requests, please let me know. I'm happy to do them. And thanks very much for watching my review today.